two of our downtown neighbors from Grand River Brewery. We have assistant brewer Caleb Moore and cellar hand Charlie Davenport. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So there's brewer, assistant brewer,
Yes.
and then cellar hand.
The cellar man between.
Cellar man.
Yes. So brewer, assistant brewer, cellar man, cellar hand.
Oh, there's one below you?
No, he's the bottom.
I'm not the
He's
lowest
very bottom.
below. Yeah.
Okay. Cellar man and cellar hand.
Yes.
So do you have to be a man to be a cellar man?
Not anymore. No.
Okay.
There was a time when that was true, but things have progressed a little bit since then.
Awesome. So you guys are known far and wide for your beer. Literally, people all over the country and probably all over the world
Yes.
have access to your brews. Caleb, how long have you been at Grand River?
About 6 years now, as of December 1st.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Oh, thank you.
So 313 Polish Lager,
Mm-hmm.
Monkey Mouth.
Yes.
What's your part in the creation of those iconic beers?
So those were actually around a little before my time.
Okay.
So those were the beers that kind of put Grand River on the map. They were established brands by the time I got there. 313 was tapped for the first time, I want to say the summer before I started working there. And I won't forget, that was the day I met John Burtka, as he came up to me while I was sitting at the bar one morning and poured me a sample and said, "Hey, this is a new beer we have. I'm very proud of it. Will you try this?" So I got to taste a little sample of 313 in the first week or so that it was open.
Awesome. And your reaction was so good that he offered you a job
That's
on the
it.
spot.
Yep.
Nice. So what have you been doing? Have you created any beers?
Oh yeah, so as the assistant brewer, I have the privilege of working on the 7-barrel system. So any experimental small batch stuff that comes out of the brewery is largely my wheelhouse.
Oh, neat.
Our head brewer still gets to play around a little bit, but for the most part, the small batch stuff is mine.
So what might people have tried that you were responsible for?
Pale Sunrise, most recently, that was very popular. My Guy was one of my personal favorites. Surf and Tsunamis, a lot of the lagers that we do are my brainchildren.
So the flavor, of course, that's one thing, but the name and the packaging and the graphics and the label, that's all a big part of it too, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the hard part, especially the name.
Yeah, because people shop based on the name or the label
Correct.
in your world. So the cellar man, right?
Cellar hands.
Cellar hand. Cellar
Yeah.
hand?
Yes, one
Cellar
hand. A single.
What do you do?
Well, I have the privilege of washing every single keg that we put beer into. So I run the keg washer most of the time. I do a lot of cellaring. That's hence the name Cellar Hand. So anytime they finish a batch, then I'm the one that takes all the kegs and moves them certain places. Another thing is called counter pressuring, basically taking a big keg and pouring it into smaller kegs. And then one of my favorite things is also, it's called a mash out. So one of the first steps is they put all that grain in a big ton, and then they put water in it, hot water. And after it mixes together and creates that sugar water that they're going to later ferment, we have all that spent grain. And so it's my job to go in there with a rake and just rake everything out. And it takes, I mean, we time ourselves. We are kind of competitive on timing for that kind of stuff. But that's one of my favorite things I do every week now.
So it sounds like you've got to have muscles to do your job.
Just mass in general, I would say.
Okay.
You know, maybe not muscles.
All right, so we've got some events geared around your products, namely coming out of the brewery. I think this week, is there something, right?
Yep, so this week we have beer dinner in Marshall and Jackson. Marshall's beer dinner will be on Thursday, Jackson's will be on Friday. The theme is A Night in New Orleans. We are not the cooks. We don't really have the food menu memorized, but the premise of this is that we will have a 5-course beer dinner, and for each meal, there'll be a beer paired with it. So we're gonna start with a salad, I believe. Oh, thank you. Start with an appetizer, Oysters Rockefeller. And I'm not gonna go through all this. I kinda wanna leave some up just as a surprise. You can find this information on our Facebook page
Just
if you
hit
would
the
like.
highlights, there they are.
Yep, so we're gonna start out with a half pint and an appetizer, and then from there we'll go through each course, and you'll be receiving about a 5-ounce pour of each additional beer with each course. We don't wanna go too much more than that because we don't want people leaving a little too cocked.
So matching a menu item with a beer, is it difficult? Is it complex? Do you have to taste the food to make the match?
We would like that if we could. Sometimes we don't really have time to. The cooks are doing their thing and we're doing ours. Our schedules don't always meet up. Most of the time the way this works is we're sent the menu, and then we look at it and we say, okay, so this course is going to pair well with this beer. There are rules to pairing beer to food, and that's kind of the guidelines that we use.
Like dessert, that's going to be a hard step of the meal, hard course of the meal to match a beer to, doesn't it?
Yeah, stout is usually a safe bet for
Oh,
dessert.
okay, yeah.
Stout or a porter, because they tend to be chocolatey or coffee flavored in nature.
Makes sense. So do you need a reservation to get into the beer dinner?
Yes,
Okay.
you need to buy a ticket, and they are still available, so you can still get into both the Marshall and Jackson beer dinners this week.
Nice, and really the timing is great because we just had Mardi Gras in New Orleans, a big headquarters of that. People are in the mood for some New Orleans fare.
Correct.
All right, and then I think the biggest day of the year for Grand River Brewery is coming up,
Yes, sir.
St. Patrick's Day.
St. Patrick's
That's
Day.
it.
Remember St. Patrick's Day 2020?
Oh yeah,
Yes, that was a bad day.
it was a really bad day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But since then,
It's been really good.
it's been good.
And it's always good at Grand River Brewery. St. Patrick's Day is one of my favorite days at the brewery. In terms of the menu, the beers available, just the atmosphere. It's on a Sunday, so we've got a little more opportunity to play around.
It's
this
on
year.
a Sunday.
Yes, it is.
Oh, wow. So I've been a GRB on a St. Patrick's Day, and there are people, I can't believe they do this, but they'll ask for Guinness
Yes.
at GRB. What do you tell these people?
Get out. No, so we have our Blarney Stoned, which is our Irish stout. So that's pretty much the same thing as a Guinness as far as flavor, consistency, alcohol content. But for St. Patrick's Day and St. Patrick's Day only, we will nitrogenate Blarney Stoned. So you'll get that nice nitrogen Guinness feel to it.
A lot of people want it so authentic that it's served warm. That stout is appropriate. Do you buy that?
You should have it a little warmer than like a lager. So lawnmower beer should be crisp and cold. A darker beer should be around 42 degrees Fahrenheit, so just a little bit warmer, but it still should be cool.
People that have been used to drinking mass-produced canned big product brand name beer, is there an education process when they start drinking beer from a craft brewer?
Kind of a little bit. It's more about finding something that fits what you're used to and then branching out from there. Sometimes it takes people a little time. You agree?
Yeah, I'd say so. Start something that you're familiar with, something that's similar to what you typically drink on a normal day, and then branching out from there, especially branching out.
Yeah, so I've heard, like you guys will steer someone into an IPA, maybe that's never experienced craft brew.
Yes.
Yeah. So being a cellar hand, what's the next step for you? Are you hopeful to learn the brewing business and be a brewer yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Caleb's apprentice. So right now I'm
Okay.
starting at the bottom, kind of with the grunt work, which is still, you're going to end up doing those jobs later on in your career anyways, but just sticking with those right now and then shadowing him as he works the 7-barrel system, and that's kind of where I will eventually fall into, start working with that as well, while continuing my education with beer in general and everything pertaining to. So, yeah.
And you're assistant brewer. What's the next step for you? Does someone have to move on?
Yeah, so head brewer, we're kind of in the works on that right now. We're opening more breweries. As we open more breweries, our head brewer will need to split his time appropriately between all the different locations, at which point I'll be in charge of Jackson.
That's right, you just opened a new brewery in Clawson?
Yes.
Nice. So we've got Clawson, Marshall, Jackson,
Yep.
and
On the horizon is Brighton. I can't give you any solid dates right now, but it's coming very soon.
they should be like Grand River breweries all over the place in the future.
I'd like that.
Awesome. All right, guys, thanks for coming in.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, always nice to see you. The people behind the beers at Grand River Brewery, assistant brewer
Correct.
Caleb Moore, and cellar hand and Caleb's apprentice Charlie Davenport.